hit you up, I'm talking about banging something. Chill off in your crib with half a thing, probably make the sting or something. Girl, you like my bottom bitch. Post my bill, pay for my lawyer. Play your position when the mother hoes get out of order. When you wanna give me that, you purchase a plane ticket. Run around town when I bust the down in my shit, look them lanes did. It got a dick with my dick's mirror lipstick. Basically, if this bitch lay with me, she paying me. I'm on some pimp shit for real. This 2 a.m. club was about to close up. Coming through my contacts, about to call one of my hoes up. Then I met you, kick game and followed you to the breakfast spot. You like I'm ready to that night up in the Marriott. You got your cherry pop. Drunk and switching up position. Thought that the shit would never stop. Motherfucker in the mission.
Nigga, I ain't laughing. Take a swig out of this 40. Then I'ma start to smash. And I want to make a nigga. I just double that to taxes on the way down on my level. Not even up in my bracket. I'm getting money. You don't see that shit every day.
When you wanna give me that, you purchase a plane ticket. Run around town when I bust the down in my shit, look them lanes did. It got a dick with my dick's mirror lipstick. Basically, if this bitch lay with me, she paying me. I'm on the pimp shit for real. This 2 a.m. club was about to close up. Coming through my contacts, about to call one of my hoes up. When I hit you up, I'm talking about banging something. Chill off in your crib with half a thing, probably make the sting or something. Girl, you like my bottom bitch. Post my bill, pay for my lawyer. Play your position when the mother hoes get out of order. When you wanna give me that, you purchase a plane ticket. Run around town when I bust the down in my shit, look them lanes did. It got a dick with my dick's mirror lipstick. Basically, if this bitch lay with me, she paying me. I'm on some pimp shit for real. This 2 a.m. club was about to close up. Coming through my contacts, about to call one of my hoes up. Then I met you, kick game and followed you to the breakfast spot. You like I'm ready to that night up in the Marriott. You got your cherry pop. Drunk and switching up position. Thought the shit would never stop. Motherfucker in the mission.
This is the OMFL.
You can't touch this.
And you're in the mix with Kinda Real Name. Here's another OMFL production.
Good morning and welcome to Press Pass Live. That's right, your weekly podcast show here for the OMFL. Thank you so much for being up bright and early and being on with us here this morning. We're all tired. It seems like everyone has had a super long week, but we're here and we're ready to go. So let's just jump right into it. Let me welcome in my two buddies, the whole crew. We're back together again. Mr. Maniac, Mr. Dwayne, how y'all doing this morning?
Doing wonderful.
First cup of coffee. It's about as good as you can get.
This is the weakest I'm doing wonderful that I've ever heard in my entire life, but I get it. Maniac was up stupid late and still was able to pull himself out of bed, and I totally honor that and respect that. So I actually didn't set up an interview this morning because I was hoping that Maniac might be able to make it with us, and he was not on the last couple of shows because, again, he's super busy on Fridays and doesn't get home till super late. But Maniac, let's just spend a couple of minutes giving your ideas and thoughts. Now, you're running the Deuce now. Madden 20, though it's still, in my opinion, the best game they've ever made, has had its challenges to overcome. So what do you think about Madden 20, where we stand, all of the hurdles that we've had to jump through, and how's the Deuce doing?
Well, the Deuce has been doing pretty well. We've lost a few owners, some just to life. They got started and didn't realize the kind of commitment that they were really kind of setting up for, so they had to drop us, and that totally respect that and everything. Then we had some guys that are coming in that they just don't haven't been able to get a hold of the FPR way, the OMFL way that we've embraced there with the Deuce, and we had to cut some ties with some guys, but we've also got some guys that are really coming in, plugging in, bringing a lot of stuff not only to our league but the community as a whole, bringing in very good content. They came in, they've embraced the FPR way, the no switch league, and they're really enjoying it and having a good time. And we saw guys that have been in the league, when back in the OMFL 2, before we switched over, guys that rolled over from that even some of the board said that their gameplay was kind of questionable going through in the OMFL 2, but they've seen a kind of a shift in how they're seeing those guys perform and play, and so that's encouraging to hear. Guys are really embracing the fact of trying to change their gameplay. So with that said, the Deuce is really doing great, and we're really enjoying it, and I really appreciate all the guys that are on the board there, really pulling together and helping out a lot, because I've been really busy, and there's sometimes a few days that I'm pretty unplugged and not there and stuff, and guys like Cly and Little Koch and Denbrew and Mackie, those guys are just really doing a good job just controlling things and keeping it running, and I appreciate those guys. The overall Madden, I really do like it. I still like it. I still like X Factors. They're definitely can be difficult at times, and obviously, in both leagues, I have a team that has good X Factors on the teams and stuff. So, not having one, I don't know that experience, but I know guys that don't have one, they're probably kind of kicking buckets and stuff. Well, I wish I had those guys. And the good thing about it is, with the Madden 20, that eventually you can work one of the guys up to an X Factor, or guarantee in free agency there's going to be one available sooner or later. But just keep after it, guys that don't have an X Factor, because they are nice to have. But overall, I think the game has been good. There is glitches. The field goal glitch, I think it's probably one of the biggest, craziest things that's ever happened to a CFM, probably, in my experience. But I haven't actually experienced it yet. But I know there's a lot of guys that are dealing with it, and we've seen a lot of ties in both leagues from that, because it seems to happen in overtime. But
Yeah.
it's something that we'll just have to work through, and hopefully EA, please get it fixed. Hopefully.
Well, talk about the X Factors. Did you guys end up turning those off? Because I know that you guys are playing with that. And if you did, what's it like? What are you thinking? What's the initial thoughts? What's the feedback from the owners?
I haven't turned it off for a full week. I did turn it off for one of my games, and it really didn't have the effect that that I was expecting it to have, because I have the Rams there in the deuce, and Aaron Donald for the Rams still had four sacks. He was in the backfield pretty much every play, and it was just part of it. A lot of it was my opponent, because he was holding on to the ball a lot. But the overall, I guess, situation from turning that off didn't happen the way I thought it was going to play out, because I thought it was going to play out to where Donald was probably going to be just a null factor, and that wasn't the case, because he still put up probably just as much stats in that game that he would have with them on. And in fact, the following week I turned it back on, and he actually had 2 sacks less than what he did the week with it off. So it just doesn't seem like it had the effect. But we are going to try turning them completely off for 1 week with the league, probably this next advance, because I want to make sure we do it before the advance, just in case it's one of those things where Madden stuff don't take effect until after advance. But that's what we're looking at.
Now you guys have some new podcasts, some new content that's being created for the show or for the league. All kinds of different shows, all kinds of new stuff. Talk a little bit about some of that new content, some of those owners, and how's that going?
Yeah, the content is actually it's making me feel shameful for myself, because I haven't put anything out yet this Madden, and we got one guy really in particular that's really kind of come out and really put out a super quality show. Was Sir Ham. He is our Jets owner there in the Deuce, and he's put out a show, and the name of it right now is kind of evaded me, but basically he goes over, does a recap of games. He's given live commentary off of highlights, and it's almost like watching ESPN highlight show, and it's really cool. I told one of the guys the other day, it's really almost like, and I hate breathing the word 2K football, but it's very eerily kind of similar to that, and he's done a phenomenal job with the voiceover and kind of getting the music to fit the mood, and it really just, guys just loved it, and I'm super impressed with it and stuff, and I'm so glad that he's doing it. We've got a couple other guys that are doing some things. The Vikings Bull, he's been putting out tons of content for his written content, and I think he throws in some highlights from his team, and he is the Lions owner. And guys like that just do more for a league than I think maybe they even realize, because it just brings something that guys, if they're having a bad season or struggling here and there, they can view and look at things these guys are putting out, and kind of just say, hey, this guy's not doing great, but he's still putting out this content that's just top notch, and it seems to get guys kind of excited about things.
All right, last question. What are we looking forward to? What's going to come out of the Deuce before this is all over? What are you looking forward to?
What's going to come out of the Deuce? Well, I'm hoping that we get guys that are still improving in their gameplay. We definitely want to be a league that's not just viewed as a feeder league, because that's what we are doing. We are preparing guys to move up, if that is the case, to be called upon. But guys like Sir Ham and stuff, that they're taking the Deuce league to the next level by putting out the content, and we want to see all all of our owners, including myself, get to that point where we're putting out content there. But overall, we want to see guys really the FPR way, the OMFL taught that way, because as far as I've known, playing in CFMs, they're the only ones that I've seen that had the fair play rules, and it's something I've really embraced myself over the years, and we got some guys that are coming up and really accepting that and embracing that as well. So exciting times with the Deuce.
Mr. Wayne, you've been quiet this morning, but you got anything about the Deuce?
It's in good hands. Got some good leader and good board members. And we've had quite a few guys. I want to say Denbrew. Is Denbrew? He came from the 2, didn't he, Maniac?
Yes.
Denbrew, Lil Koch.
And he's on the board, though.
You might name who all came up from the 2 so far that's in our OMFL right now. Maniac.
Oh.
I know Denbrew, Lil Koch. I mean, we've had some pretty good owners come up and stay.
Yeah, Moa's a product of which would have been the OMFL 2 Deuce. Crazy B-Man. He's also a product of the Deuce. That's a little Koch obviously, and Denbrew are probably the newest ones to come out of there, and Penguins is also a guy that came from the Deuce.
Well, I'm excited about
success rate.
Yeah, it has been a great addition. Now, this is something that Maniac started a couple of years ago. You had to step away, and Chaotic did a great job of stepping in and kind of filling in that gap. Now, because of that, we lost the OMFL Coach Mode League, which I'm hoping that one day somebody brings back, because it was a lot of fun too. I'd love to see what it's like on Madden 20. So I'm excited about the Deuce. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I know that this is the busy time of the year for you, but it won't stay busy forever, and so we'll get through it and we'll get it figured out. Let's talk about the OMFL now. Let's jump into our normal stuff and talk about our favorite games of the week. Now, did we not just advance like late? What's today? So late on Thursday night?
Yes.
It's crazy. Like almost every game in the league is already played in just one day. So, yeah, it's already rocking and rolling. So let's talk about our favorite games. What's our favorite game from week 6 or 5, 6, or 7? Yeah, give me your favorite game. We're gonna start with D. Wayne. We're gonna go through it and tell me what was your favorite game from some of those advances.
Mine's a week 7, and it's not really a good game. I mean, it's not really a game that sticks out to me because it was a real competitive game. It just sticks out to me because it showed just a rising team playing one of the established championship teams here and just manhandling them. There's really no other way to say it. The Ravens beat the Seahawks 33-7. It was a game that I think if you ask any of us here, I don't think any of us was predicting a 33-7 score here. The Puerto Rican Nipple has just played ridiculously good so far this season. He's ran the ball well. I think I looked at him the other day. He leads the league in turnover differential. He just came out the box playing real well. He's really hopped over any adversity he's been through. I can't recall who his one loss is. But this game right here is just a huge game to me for a momentum thing, a confidence thing going into, I think last cycle he made the playoffs the last 2 seasons, or at least one of the last 2 seasons. And these kind of games right here with guys, they beat somebody like Mo, who's won, I think, it's like 6 championships here. And he's just always, no matter what team he's got, just been just dominant. And he comes in here just runs the table with it, just never really lets Mo get his offense going. He causes Russell Wilson to throw 5 picks, which we all know is not very Mo-like at all. If you start going through some of the stats, the Ravens only had 107 yards passing. You really need to pass in this situation. 271 yards rushing. That's just ridiculous. Especially against, we all know how well the Seahawks play defense.
Yeah.
He's really just built his team off of just shutting you down and making you turn it over, and he just beats you. You go down third down conversion for the Ravens, 40%. He was only 50% in the offensive red zone. Like I said, in this point differential, this game, it's not a huge issue. The key thing here, 6 takeaways compared to only 1 takeaway for the Seahawks. Seahawks 227 yards passing, 90 yards rushing. Nothing real special, only 29% on third down. The key factor here is just turnover. You have 6 turnovers like that, as the Seahawks did. You're not going to win many games. Lamar Jackson, pedestrian, 7 for 13, 112 yards. Golden, import from Madden 19, still just trucking away, 17 carries, 181 yards and a touchdown. Edwards, 54 yards and 13 carries, a touchdown. Lamar Jackson chunking in 31 yards. He did spread the ball to 4 different receivers. Defensively, Humphrey has 4 interceptions. I think he leads the league with 9 interceptions this season. I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain I seen that stat yesterday. It's ridiculous. 9 interceptions through 7 games, or I'm sure it's 8 games now. But that's still just crazy. And it's crazy to get it from somebody like Mo, who takes care of the ball.
You get 4, though, in one game. It's going to help your stats.
Oh, yeah. The 4 against somebody like Mo, who doesn't like to pass the ball and usually takes care of it. That's just crazy. Earl Thomas has an interception. Moore and Lewis Marshall have sacks. If you go over to the Seahawks, nothing just really sticks out to you. Wilson, 1 touchdown, 5 picks, 230 yards. This is what gets me right here is between Penny, Wilson, and Carson, you have 90 yards rushing on 20 carries. That's not Mo-like. Nothing really got going here. You really take away Wilson's 2 carries and 30 yards, and it's 18 carries for 60 yards, and that's just stifling defense. Lockett, 6 receptions, 115 yards, touchdown. Metcalf comes back from injury, 5 catches, 56 yards. I know that Mo's really leaning on him to try to help him get through this season.
Yeah.
You go defensively. Nothing really stands out. Reed had a sack. Wagner did what he could with 10 tackles. Griffin with the forced fumble, but the telltale here, 6 turnovers for the Seahawks. Not very characteristic of Mo, but you got to give the Ravens credit here. He came in with the game plan, I'm sure. He got on Mo early, got Mo out of his comfort zone, and Mo uncharacteristically just turned the ball over. And this is a huge win for the Ravens, a huge win for his confidence. And I think this is a telltale sign for guys in the AFC that the Ravens aren't a team you should sleep on.
No, they're for real. I think the confusing thing, especially about the Seahawks defense, it's 6 interceptions that or 5 interceptions that their offense did. They didn't get any but 1. They got 1 sack. But they had 2, 4, 6, 8 tackles for loss. And so they were in the backfield. They gave up a lot of yards, though. They didn't give up a lot of passing yards. Their offense was turning over. It's the confusion of what the OMFL is here in Season 1, which is one of the most difficult seasons ever to kind of figure out like who's going to fall where and who's going to play like what. Mr. Maniac, what was your favorite game from week 5, 6, or 7?
Well, I'm going with week 8 also. And I don't know if it's my favorite game, but it's my game that I look at and I'm so intrigued by it because of the direction of these 2 teams. They've been kind of going in totally different directions, and it's the Jaguars and the Bengals. Yeah. Brady is now sitting at 8-0, which is insane, and since he's sitting at 5-2-1, and I believe he's lost the last 2 or lost 1 and tied the last 2 games. But this game ended up being 45-21. Brady and the Jags taking Cincy and the Bengals. Big stat: Watson, 11 of 14, 221 yards, 4 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. Compared to 12 of 19 for Dalton, 194 yards, which wasn't bad, but no touchdowns, no interceptions, and that's very un-Cincy-like, because Cincy usually puts up tons of yards and touchdown passes. From the last 2 Maddens, Cincy has really dominated in that category. And then you look at rushing attack, and this is where Brady seems to really kind of, even through beta, through all the testing, Brady seemed like he could run the ball no matter what the settings were on. and whatever team he was using, he was able to run the ball effectively and efficiently. And here we got West with, and Fortnite's hurt right now, or Fortnite is hurt right now. So we got a backup West here with 13 attempts, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a long of 75. So that number is a little bit skewed with that long run, but still very efficient, effective. Backup Blue had 5 for 14 with the 2 touchdowns rushing there. And then you go to the receiver for the Jags, D.D. Westbrook, 5 catches, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns. So pretty much every time this guy touched the ball, it was going to the house. And just when you get an offense rolling like that, it's hard to stop. And as far as kind of comparing with Cincy, his rushing attack was really just as good. 19 attempts by Mixon, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns. And his receiving core was not bad either, led by Effort with 4 receptions, 71 yards, no touchdowns though again. And then you look at the defensive side, and I think this is kind of where it kind of separates teams, and you see the Jags here have just a complete domination on the defensive side of the ball. Campbell 2 sacks, Jacobs 2 sacks, which I think after this game he got a dev increase from Jacobs to star or superstar, something like that. And then all together, I think he had like 7 sacks from the defense, no interceptions, but 2 forced fumbles. And when you compare that to that stands out. No sacks, 4 fumbles, cause Brady to and it seems 8 weeks now that is interesting to see if they had one as we near the playoffs.
It's the crazy part of, like, he puts up 17 points in the third quarter. He's such a second half team. I jumped out on him 21-7, and he shut me out in the second half and outscored me and beat me, and I really let that game get away. And it's frustrating because he's a second half team. He runs the ball really well. But Watson, it adds another dynamic to that team that he hasn't had in the past. He really has a great passing game now, and as long as he continues to make good decisions, he's going to play well. And then just like the Bears, he can get after the quarterback. 7 sacks in this game. It's just hard to get rolling and get into a flow if you give up 7 sacks. My game's going to come from this week also, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs and Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos come away with a 27-24 victory, and we're going to talk about these two teams here in just a little bit. But it really was an offensive shootout in the first half, and then like a tight defensive, what we would think of an AFC game in the second half. 135 rushing yards for the Denver Broncos, but 355 passing yards for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they're just really, really good about being able to spread you out. Mahomes has got a big arm. He's going to be able to squeeze it in there and make some big plays on you. 20 first downs for the Kansas City Chiefs, only 10 for the Denver Broncos. But he still won 27-24. That's amazing when you can have double the first downs. Let's look at the time of possession real quick. 21 minutes to 18 minutes. So you've held the ball longer and you had double the first downs, but you still lose this game. And here's the big stat. 3 turnovers for the Kansas City Chiefs, 0 for the Denver Broncos. So you protect the ball, You hang in there, you keep playing good defense, and good things will happen. And that's exactly what happened here for the Denver Broncos. Patty Mahomes, 399 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. He was also sacked 6 times. Drew Lock was sacked 5 times, but he only threw 1 touchdown, but 0 interceptions and 207 passing yards. Let's see, 76% completion percentage for Patrick Mahomes, 52 for Drew Lock. Looking at some rushing yards, Lindsey, not a bad day. 11 rushes for 72 yards. He averaged 6.5 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. Traymon Smith for the Kansas City Chiefs, 5 for 44. Freeman also threw in another 7 for 40. And then Samuels, 11 for 40. So it seemed like everybody was kind of getting to eat theirs and being able to make plays. But things just tightened up there in the second half. Tyreek Hill, listen to this stat line. 11 receptions, 212 yards, 19.3 average, and 1 touchdown, 75 yards on just rack. So he had one hell of a day for himself. And then McCole Hardman, a rookie for Kansas City, on top of Hill's 11 for 212, he throws in 6 for 100. No touchdowns for him, but just big play after big play. And then Cortland Sutton for the Denver Broncos throws in 4 for 104. So big stats coming from this game, lots of points. It seemed like most of them, though, were in that first half. The leading tacklers here were Hitchens for Kansas City, Edmonds for Kansas City, Von Miller and Simmons for the Denver Broncos. Lots of tackles for loss. Von Miller was really in the backfield making a lot of plays. He only came away with 1 sack, but 3 tackles for loss and 7 tackles on the day. 4 sacks, though, for the Denver Broncos came from Derek Wolfe. I mean, this guy seems to be able to get off the ball, just like a hard-nosed, the kind of guy you want in like a 3-4. Like, he's not super big, but you put him in a 3-4 left end, he can guard against the run, and he can get off and get after the quarterback, and that's going to help you. Bradley Chubb for the Denver Broncos and Bryce Callahan both had an interception. Let's see if we had any forced fumbles in this game. I think we did. There we go, Bradley Chubb. He had a forced fumble in this game. So a big win for the Denver Broncos. Good win at home, 3-point win over a division rival. This one's going to really pay off as we get towards the playoffs and going to help these teams. So big win there for the Denver Broncos, and congrats to them. That's going to bring us to our kind of next section, and that's talking about contenders and pretenders. And to do that, we're going to try something a little bit different here. We're going to use the Safari option here on PlayStation. We'll see how this works, because this didn't work so well last week whenever we were doing it. But we're going to talk about some contenders and pretenders in the AFC. We're going to look at our Daddy Leagues page, which is slowly loading because Safari on PlayStation is not the greatest thing in the whole wide world. But we're going to look at the contenders and pretenders there from the AFC, everybody that's in the AFC playoff hunt and in the current race. Well, that's not what I want. This is how I watch wrestling. So let's, here we go. This is what we were looking for. That's how I watch pay-per-views. So let's look at some contenders and pretenders here. We got it loaded. Let's get over here to the playoff race. Maniac, I'm going to start, if we can get this to load. There we go. We're going to start with you. I'm going to give you a couple of teams, and we'll all talk about them. Man, Safari loads so slow here. But we got it. It's loading. There we go. Let's talk about the AFC. So here what we're going to do. We're going to name a team, and then we'll all take a turn and name if they're contender, pretender, and why. Can't spend 5 minutes on every team, because then we'll be here for the next 3 hours. But we're going to run through these like 10 teams here and talk about the contenders and pretenders list that we believe. And we're going to start from the top and work our way down. So let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, still undefeated. They are our last undefeated team. That's right. That was on our last show. We talked about the Patriots, the Ravens, and the Jaguars, and they have the last one sitting as undefeated. So it looks like they win the whole thing that we talked about. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, are they a contender or a pretender? Maniac, we're starting with you.
Oh, if this was the old Brady with the old game, this would be a pretender. But this is a new Brady, new quarterback, new game, and he is on fire. I don't think I've even seen anybody kind of come close. Really, probably your game with the first half was probably the closest that I've seen him possibly losing, and I don't know if he's
let
played
him
the
off
wing
the
yet. But it's 100% buy-in on Brady and the Jags for being a contender, and I mean, what can you say? 8-0, and just putting up defense and offensive dominance.
Mrs. D. Wayne, what do you think? Contender or pretender? Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think he's a contender until he proves us different. I think he's earned that right this year. I know he's even said a few times about the playoff comments he always gets, and I think he understands he's got to prove that to shake that. But so far you just got to look at him. He's third in total offense, 12th in rushing. The defensive side, and that's really all that matters. He does give a lot. It's nice. He's at radio. He's got guys in play. He's first for you to kind of manage his. But right now, Brady, he's on a steamroll. I've watched. He's really been close this year. Was Nate? Nate had him against the rope, and he come out in the second half, and it was like a whole different Brady came out, and that's kind of things right there that separate pretenders from contenders. The guys that just don't back down, and then like you said, he's a second half team, and he doesn't give up, and that's why he's 8-0 so far this season.
Yep, second half team, great running game, a defense that can get after the quarterback. Now he's got some holes. You can pass on him. You can't run on him, but he's going to get after the quarterback, and that will force you to make some bad throws and bad plays. And he's got a quarterback now. And if you have a quarterback on this team that can make plays, he's definitely a contender. Let's go to the New England Patriots, Mr. Maniac. Contender or pretender, New England Patriots?
Well, Mr. Bloop has definitely put up some stellar stats this season. I'm not sure exactly what all his stats are. It would probably take too long trying to pull up everything, but just from the games that I've watched Bloop play, he's been phenomenal throwing the ball with Brady. Brady also, has those X factors that kind of locate guys who are open early, and I think some of those are kind of underrated guys because obviously there's not a wide variety of those type of X factors in the game, because Brady, I think, is one of the only ones that kind of has that particular one that's for him, and so I think a lot of times those things are really paying off for guys, like in Luke's situation with that team, and he's run the ball pretty well, I think, except for the last couple of games. He's kind of had a hiccup with the running game. Guys are starting to stop him a little bit, but all in all, 6-1. And he's really put up some very good offense, and his defense has been pretty solid as well. I'm going to have to say he is a contender.
Mr. D. Wayne, contender or pretender, New England Patriots?
I think he's a contender at this point. I think he's pretty much got that division on a lock. He's a playoff-bound team. Everybody else in that division has kind of, tripped over themselves a little bit. I think Clyde was the one that, if I'm not mistaken, was it Clyde that gave him? Yeah, Clyde gave him his first loss, and then he had a tie against the Browns last night, but I want to say that was a CPU game. I hope that tie doesn't come back to hurt him, especially in the seeding. But he's played really good so far this season. He's played really well. Like Maniac said, people last couple of games have really started to slow down his run and have started kind of picking up on some of the stuff that he wants to do. And that's another thing that separates a contender from pretender. You got to be able to adjust with your opponents. When they start adjusting to you and start trying to lock down what you want to do successfully, you just adjust. And I see him doing it. He does have, he has a tough schedule coming up. I think he's got the Ravens, Cowboys, Eagles, Chiefs, Texans all coming up here real quick. We'll see real quick how much of a contender he is. But at this point, I'm going to call him contender. I looked at his turnover ratio, and I know that a lot of people probably don't look at the turnover ratio like I do, but I think it's huge. He's only turned the ball over 8 times this year, and he's created 18 turnovers. So really like a 2.25 positive turnover rate in there. That's just the recipe for success, and I think these next few weeks will really tell. But I'm going to go ahead and label him a contender right now, but these next 3 or 4 weeks are going to be really key for him if he can get back to what he was doing to win games and not let this tough road knock him off his horse.
Yep, we're at the halfway mark, week 8. He's 6-1-1. He's the number 2 seed. I do think that he will come down a little bit. I think out of those 3 teams we talked about last week, Jacksonville, Patriots, and the Ravens, he's the team that I think I worry about the most. But he's still an upper echelon AFC team, and I think that he is definitely a contender, and he'll have what it takes to make a run here. I do think, though, he'll be like 3-4 seed, somewhere in there. Let's go to the Baltimore Ravens, contender or pretender, Mr. Maniac.
Well, here's another guy that has kind of brought his success. At the end of Madden 19, he started to see Mackey kind of really get comfortable with his team. He was one of the better rushing attack teams in Madden 19 that ended on a high note. And then you see him coming over into Madden 20, and he hasn't missed a beat with, especially he's number 1 right now in the OMFL in rushing, 175 yards a game, and that's pretty insane. If you control that line of scrimmage and control the clock, it usually tends to kind of work in your favor. And total yards, he's putting up 365 yards a game, which is right now about top 15, and that's pretty good. His passing still not quite there. I think it's 23rd in the lead right now, but he's got an up-and-coming guy with Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. That's going to be the next, I think, probably Ty Hill type Madden player that we've seen Ty Hill be. And so I think he has almost 900 yards already receiving with Brown, and not a whole lot of touchdowns, but 24.4 yards an average with that guy. So he stretches the field. Anytime anybody starts kind of pressing to stop the run, then he kind of just lets it go with Brown and takes you over the top, which that's a strategy, and you see that in football, guys starting to crowd the box, and you'll see those guys take it over the top with their speed receivers and get something open downfield to kind of make that defense respect all aspects of the game. But Mackey has really done well, and his defense has been pretty dominant on that side of the ball. I think everything that he's putting up, he's in the top 10, top 5. I think he's only given up 16 points a game, and he's putting up 30. My math, Texas math says you putting up that, you're going to win most of those games. So with all that said, and I kind of long-winded with Mackey's team here, but I'm definitely going to say that he is a contender unless the wheels fall off here going into the final stretch of the season.
Mr. D. Wayne, contender, pretender on the Baltimore Ravens.
See, he might be my toughest one just because of who's breathing down his neck in that division. The Bengals are right on his tail. That's his only loss this season, was a pretty dominant effort by Cincy. It was one of those games where we seen the real Cincy come out and just dominate every facet of the game. But they're less of a contender than the other two to me, but they're right there. I'm still going to ride with him for a contender. I think his defense, like you say, he's only giving up 16 points a game, averaging 30. Man, that's pretty damn good, no matter how you look at it. And a successful thing for me, he's had 175 yards a game rushing, while also only giving up 81 yards a game rushing. That's a winning recipe right there. If you can, you're doubling up that. You're not letting guys run. You run. There's nothing more disheartening than having somebody run all over you. Another one, I've been talking about this turnover ratio. He's only turned the ball over 7 times this year. He's had 1 fumble and 6 picks so far this season, and he's created 22 turnovers. So you're talking about that's a 3-to-1 ratio right there. Actually, a little bit better than that, but 3-to-1 ratio, and that's just a recipe that says you run the ball, you don't turn it over, you create turnovers. He's got something good going, and like Maniac said, Marquise Brown, one of the top flight receivers, probably what we're going to see the whole cycle. Is just a dominant receiver with him, and Mackey's not scared to throw it to him. He runs the ball well.
No.
You try to capitalize on the run against him, and he'll take you deep with Brown. So I think he's got a real good thing going here. If I tell him anything, just keep your eyes ahead. Just play your game. I think he's got a game this week. He's either got a bye, or I hate the way Daddy League does their scheduling. He's either got bye or he's got the Bengals this week. It's going to be a real telltale thing. He's got the Patriots coming up, the tough Rams team, the Texans team. But he's setting himself up for good. I just hope it just don't look behind you. Just don't look at those angry Tigers, or I guess Bengals would be a better word for it, behind you. Don't look at them. Just keep playing your game and keep doing. And this could be your division, and this could be your you can run in the playoffs.
I think they're a contender. Great defense, good running game. I worry about them in the playoffs, though. Are they going to have the passing game to be able to contend? But we'll talk about the playoffs later. This is just contender, pretender. They're definitely a contender, and it's great to see Mackey winning and doing so well. Congrats to the Puerto Rican nipple, but you need to go find a passing game. We'll see how that works. Let's go to the Denver Broncos. Now, we're only on number 4, so we see if we can hit the gas just a little bit. Denver Broncos are sitting at 5-3, and our number 4 seed here in the AFC. So contender, pretender, Mr. Maniac, Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos, Jay Glaze, one of my boys from last season, and he always gave me a run for my money, it seemed like, but I always came out on top. He's a little bit different this year, though. It seemed like he's kind of found his run game, and but he's also got he's a balanced attack, and he's got a rookie quarterback. But whatever quarterback he's got, it always seems like it doesn't faze him. He's always able to keep a passing game and a rushing game. I really feel like he's going to come out on top in the AFC West. It just depends upon if Massimo can get the Chiefs kind of righted a little bit in the second half of the season. But he's going to take the West, I feel like. But in the playoffs, I think he's going to be a pretender.
Mr. D-Wayne, contender, pretender, Denver Broncos.
He's got the playmakers to win. He's got guys on the defensive side of the ball that can make plays. He's got probably one of the best pass rushers, Von Miller. I just worry about him. He's just real adept to turn the ball over. And Glaze has always been his thing because he likes to pass the ball. He will turn the ball over. It's tough because I do think in the end the Chargers are going to win this division. And I just say that I just seen what they got. I'm going to have to say I think he makes the playoffs, but I'm going to call him a pretender. I hate to say that because I really love Glaze. No homo pro bono. But I just have to call him at some point I got to call somebody a pretender here. And I'm just going to call him a pretender as in, playoff run. I do think he makes I don't know. It's tough. I'm going to have to go with pretender here. I'm going to say Cincy jumps up and takes his last playoff spot after Glaze will drop a game or so. I'm not going to feel too bad for Glaze because he's going to the Broncos game this Sunday. So I'm not going to hate on him too much because he's going to be having fun while I'm sitting at home watching the Cowboys game on TV. But I'm just going to say he's a pretender. I think Cincy comes up and takes his playoff spot from him.
I agree with you. I do think that Cincy will be in the playoffs. I don't agree with you. I'm going to go ahead and call them a contender. I think they'll win this division at 5-3. I think that they will be like the number 4 seed, right? They'll be that last division winner that gets in there. And I'm going to go with the contender. I do think that I don't love his team makeup, but I like that he's finding ways to win. And he's finding ways to pull out wins that, like the Kansas City Chiefs game, that maybe he gives up a lot of points, but man, he hangs in there in the second half. He keeps playing good football, and good things happen. And so, because of that, I think he's going to be a contender. Let's go ahead and go to our Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to start this one off. I'll leave Dwayne for last. Contender or pretender on the Indianapolis Colts? I think they are clearly a contender. 6-1 and still at the number 5th seed. We haven't even talked about him. He's like doing this whole, humble, fly under the radar thing. But this guy is playing winning football as we knew that he would figure out. 6-1 are the Colts. I think they continue to do what they do well. They play really great defense. They run the ball. They've got luck. They've got all the playmakers that they could ask for. Indianapolis Colts are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs. And the Jaguars, Patriots, Ravens, like these teams should be real nervous that Mr. Dwayne on this show is still sitting at 6-1 and very quietly having another great season. Contender, pretender, Mr. Maniac, Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, yeah, this is a no-brainer. I'm sorry, Dwayne, but you're a pretender of not being a contender. So there's a contender in Indianapolis all the way here, 6-1. He's positioned himself well for not only in making a run at Brady with the top, currently the top seed in that division, but in the playoffs, if he doesn't get that top seed because of Brady's, advance here that he's got, kind of a couple game heading up on Dwayne here with 8-0 record. I just there's no way unless everybody on his team happily gets injured. But I still think Dwayne would probably make the playoffs if he had a 53 overall quarterback and a 45 overall running back. He would still have the top ratings or offensive stats for those guys. So all the way a contender, no question.
All right, let's see what kind of crap he's going to throw at it. You know what? No, I'm not even doing it. You don't get to talk about your team. We're going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Contender or pretender, Mr. Maniac?
Colin has kind of found a different gear this Madden. I know he had some really good seasons last year with the I believe it was, or the last man with the Panthers. Wasn't he the Panthers? I believe so.
No. Who has the Chargers?
Yeah, he took the Chargers.
Colin, right?
And left.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was the Panthers, I think, the last man, and he had such good teams, and he seemed like he was always kind of contending, but he never could get over the hump. I think with this team that he's got, it fits his style way better than any other team that he's had so far, and he's just been I think his best output that he's coming from this team is from his defensive side. And with that said, Bosa, I know he said it in the chat, Bosa is just a cheat code, and that may be, but I'm definitely seeing him as a contender. But if he can maintain what he's got going on right now, I do fear that he may get in his own head and hurt himself later down the road with his offensive output. But we'll see. But as of now, I'm calling him a contender.
Los Angeles Chargers, Mr. Dwayne.
No, sorry about that, Nate. I was jumping the gun on you.
No, jump. Usually y'all just like sit here in silence, and I gotta tell you to go.
Colin's only enemy, like he said, is kind of gets in his own head sometimes, and not as bad as others here. But he also has the Dakota Dawson and Dakota Scott syndrome, where he likes to drink when he plays, and that can be a good thing and a bad thing. I've seen it work both ways. But no,
it does not make anyone feel better that you drink while you play and still kill us.
It's like fake confidence sometimes. He is averaging 32 points a game. He's dominant. He's third in total yards, fifth in passing yards, 10th in rushing. When you're 10th in rushing at 140 yards a game, we got some really good running teams in the OMFL. Defensively, you go across the board. He's really good, except he gives up a lot of yards running, which is kind of odd with him being, 5-2 the way he is. I have to go with the contender here because, like I said, I picked him to go ahead and win the division over the Broncos. He's another team. It's kind of torn. I think if he took care of the Chargers, he has 8 turnovers compared to 13, so about a 1.5 positive ratio this season, which is a winning recipe. As long as you're on the positive side of that, you're not turning the ball over a ton. You're looking at winning some games. He does have to. You got to fight, tooth, claw, and nail the whole way out against Glaze to take that from him. And he can't sleep on Massimo in that division either. I don't care what Massimo's record is right now. I've seen Massimo go on a tear and just win out, especially with that loaded Chiefs squad. But right now, I'm calling him a contender. He's doing everything right. If he could stop the run right now, I might even put him up in that next tier of contenders. But right now, I'm going to put him as a contender. He wins this division and probably goes into the playoffs as probably a 4 seed.
Yeah, I think that, and I hate this, I don't want to even say it, but I think he's going to be a pretender because I do think that the Bengals are going to take one of these last spots. I think that, like you hit the nail on the head, I think Colliner's a great player. When he's rolling, he is rolling, and there are very few teams as good as him. But I also think that he has a hard time getting out of his way, right? I think that a lot of times he gets in his own head about it. And I think because of that, it's going to come back to haunt him, and it's going to be something that he's got to kind of get figured out here. And this AFC is just going to get tougher. The Colts are going to keep winning. Jacksonville's probably going to come back to the pack a little bit. We're already seeing New England and the Ravens coming back already a little bit. I don't know why my PlayStation's saying that, but anyway, I do think that they'll be a pretender, but just barely, and it would not shock me at all if they get one of these last playoff spots and make it all the way. Let's go to some of our teams that are on the bubble, see if we can run through these really quick. Cincinnati Bengals, 5-2-1, contender or pretender, Mr. Maniac?
We're going to have to start calling some pretenders here pretty soon because I've only counted one, but since he is hard to say that he's going to be a pretender, I think he has struggled a little bit more than he normally has. But he is I've got to put him as a contender. I don't know if he'll make the playoffs or knock somebody out. I think he will, but I'm going to go with contender.
Yeah, I got to go. I think you really are betting against the wrong person if you bet against Cincy not being a contender. I'm kind of like, Maniac said earlier, talking about, somebody playing with anybody. I honestly don't think it matters what Cincinnati does as a team. I think after a few games he figures it out, and he's a contender here. I think he's going to be a wild card team. I do think he's going to chase the Raiders, but I think he gets a wild card game, and that's the worst one for me, having somebody like Cincy as a wild card game, especially as a 3 or 4 seed, because you're like you got your division championship, go to playoffs, and your reward for that is playing a 4-time champion or 3, whatever Cincy is. Yep. So, yeah, Cincy's a contender. There's no way around it. He's a contender, and in my book, he's making the playoffs this year as a wild card team.
I do think that the tie may come back to hurt him, but he's a contender in my book. I think he'll get the 5th or 6th seed somewhere in there. And I think we'll know more by the time we're on the next Press Pass Live, right? We'll be right at the end of like right before the season's over. So I do think that the Cincinnati Bengals are a playoff team, a contender, and you can never count out a guy that's won multiple championships here. Here we go. Now we're going to start getting into some teams that we all like, but I think we're going to all agree on here. Tennessee Titans, 4-4, Maniac, contender, pretender.
He's a pretender. Mo, he's been putting out some pretty good offensive numbers, but it seems like he kind of has not found that way to win the close games. And if anybody understands that, it's me, because anyway, that's a different story. So Tennessee Titans, Mo, I love what you're doing. I think you got a good thing going, but I'm calling you a pretender right now, buddy.
Yeah, I got to say the same. I actually had high hopes. I honestly thought he was going to win our division when the season started out. Came out the blocks hot, beat me and Chaotix right off the season. Kind of stumbled out the next couple games, played some really close games. But like Maniac said, you got to win those close ones. You know that it's a 50-50 thing, them close games are, and you hope you win some of them, and he hasn't quite pulled them out. And being at 4-4 in this division, man, it's not 4-4 is never a bad thing, but you got an 8-0 team and a 7-1 team right above you, and you just honestly just really closes your playoff chance. I'm going to say pretender.
Yeah, pretender for me. Mo is not the Mo that we're used to seeing. He'll get there, though. Give him a season to kind of build that team. Like, he's already put some fat money on Mariota, so he's kind of got his quarterback set for this Madden, and he just has to get him a couple other pieces. He'll be dangerous. New York Jets, contender, pretender. Mr. Maniac.
Definitely for this season, pretender. He's been kind of up and down, which, I mean, New York Jets team, they don't have a lot of stars across the board, but he has some pieces and he has some money to work with. So any team's always in good hands with Clyde, so Jason there. But for this inaugural season in Madden 20, pretender for the Jets.
Yeah, I have to agree. He did have a huge win against the Patriots to knock off their undefeated season, but he's just been really inconsistent, which we've seen with Clyde. We have seen some really good teams, and we've seen Clyde really go low with some of his teams. Really great owner, really great player. He just got to get pieces in place. He's a pretender at this point, though.
Yeah, I gotta go pretender. Again, it's been up and down for him, right? He's had some big wins, and then he's had some wins where you're like, what happened? And I think it's always going to come down to the offensive side of the ball for him. If he can get Darnold to play the way he wants to, and get a running game and build that offensive line, I think he'll be fine. But for this season, he's a pretender. This next one pains me a little bit because I really love Penguins, the owner, but he and I had a tough conversation this week, and he's just not enjoying Madden 20. And it sucks when I hear of one of our really great owners that pumps out great content, who has pretty flawless FPR, say that they don't enjoy a game, and we're not even through September. It's going to be a rough year, and rarely do we make it whenever we hate a game this early. But Pittsburgh Steelers, contender, pretender, Mr. Maniac.
Penguins is one of my guys. You know, he's come from the OMFL 2 and stuff like we talked about earlier and stuff. But the Steelers are struggling right now. They don't have. I know the team's kind of been, I guess, with real life free agents from last year's team to this year's team, kind of changed the geographics of that team tremendously. And and they're struggling against those teams that are just a little bit better put together, and that's going to happen, especially the first season, because obviously guys didn't have the opportunity to build their team fully the way that they may build them. But with that struggle that he's been going on and not really enjoying the game, pretender all the way unless something miraculously changes for him here in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I'll have to go with a pretender on him, and I do think he will get better as time here. I just have to go with the pretender at this stage. He's in a really tough division. The Ravens and Bengals ahead of him, and Chaotix right beside him. I know Chaotix ain't on the bubble sheet right there, but Chaotix, I think, has the same record as him. I just don't see him coming out of this one. He's got a process to deal with. They lost two big weapons in AB and Bell. I think he's got to get some pieces in place. And he's got to figure out a future at quarterback with Ben Roethlisberger. So it's going to be a really tribulating time right now for the Steelers to see what they want to do. But right now he's a pretender at this point.
He's got some great linebackers. He's got some pretty decent DBs. Overall, a good defense. I think he's just got to get some pieces on the offensive side of the ball before he'll get where he wants to be. Definitely a pretender for this Madden, but he'll be fine, I think. Not this whole Madden, this season. I think he'll be fine as we progress, though, if he can kind of get into it a little bit. We'll see. All right, let's move over to the NFC, which took us forever to get here, like 35 minutes, but we're finally here. The Philadelphia Eagles, 5-1-1, man. We got our Eagles at the very tippy top here. This is a team that it took forever to kind of get here because our buddy, Big Hurt, I'm slipping on his name, was he trying to get here, or he had this?
He had this team. He won it out.
That's right. He wanted out of this team, and it was a great team that was really built for success. And Little Koch is showing that you can win with this team. So, contender or pretender with the Philadelphia Eagles? We're gonna go Dwayne this time. Maniac second. We're gonna go reverse order. Go.
I think he's a contender at this point. He's beat some solid teams. The only loss right now is to the Jets, and he tied the Redskins team. I don't know if he wins this division outright because, like I said, Redskins knocking on the door, but I'm going to go with the contender. The only thing I dislike about his team is I just think, I've been real big on this turnover differential so far today.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's the only one I've went over so far as the playoff that I've called a contender has had a negative turnover ratio. He's had 17 turnovers and 16 takeaways. You'd like to see him have a few less turnovers there, but I'm going to call him a contender. He's going to make the playoffs. Like I said, I don't know if he wins that division or not, but he is a playoff caliber team, and I really, really hate to say anything positive about the Eagles, just being a Cowboys fan, but he's played really well so far this season, and he showed that he deserves a place right here to be a contender.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go with contender all the way because I've already faced him, and his team. The best part about that team is that offensive line. You got 3 superstars lined up side by side on the right side, and they can stalemate any defensive line coming from that end. So you're gonna have to game plan, try to get pressure in different ways besides just bringing forward and hoping that your superstar defensive end from that side. He's got the ability to stalemate you there, and he's putting up good offensive numbers. He's done exceptionally well, I think, coming in from last Madden. He had the Bucks and he struggled a lot, but this speaks to what kind of coach he is and owner. So contender all the way. Hoping he's a pretender, but no, contender.
All right, wife is up, so we gotta burn through these. Eagles 5-1-1. I think that they're definitely a contender. They've proven that they're a contender. It's great to see Little Koch having some success because I know how hard he had to fight to get where he's got to go. Atlanta Falcons 5-3. Contender or pretender, Mr. Dwayne?
We'll make this quick. We'll just say contender. Sorry, D-Money. I'm not gonna say anything else. He's just a contender.
All right, yeah, I'm going a quick answer here too. Contender.
The wife is leaving, so it buys us a little time. Now you're going to go one-word answers. I've been asking to speed it up for 45 minutes, and now you're going to go one-word answers. They're definitely a contender. Look, he got off to a slow start, but he's figured things out. He's at 5-3. He's D-Money. He's won lots of championships here. He'll be just fine. I still hate his team, and I hope their legs fall off. Chicago Bears, contender or pretender at 4-2, the number 3 seed, Mr. Dwayne.
I got to go with the contender for one. I know the Packers are playing, really as good as Priest has played in a while. I just have to put in there he's really good defensively. As you look at his thing, he's first in scoring defense, first in total defense, second passing, second rushing. He didn't have to do a lot of offense because he can just shut you down on the defensive side of the ball. And like I said, you go to the turnovers. He's only turned the ball over 7 times this season. That's phenomenal. He's created 15 turnovers. You're talking about a 2-to-1 ratio right there. But the key thing right there, 7 turnovers in 6 games. That's a recipe for success. I call him. He's a contender. I don't see any other way around it. He's a contender.
In our defense, when you said the wife is up, we kind of understand that code word, get your crap in gear.
Sure, okay. I'm gonna start starting off every show with the wife is up. The problem is there's video now, so there's video evidence that there is or is not a wife up.
Oh man, the Chicago Bears. You can't say nothing except this defense is the heart and soul of this team. Mac there on the outside is as dominant as any defensive end outside linebacker as there is in the game. Obviously, he's a 99 overall guy. You have to say it's a contender until you see more consistency from the other guys in his division. And I don't know how far he goes into the playoffs facing some of the teams that he'll face, but he's definitely a contender.
Oh yeah, it's my turn. Sorry, I forgot. I was reverse order. That one's on me. Chicago Bears are absolutely a contender. He murdered me. I'm so mad about it. I didn't contend with him at all. That set of linebackers may be the best set of that might be the best front seven in the league. I mean, they're just stupid. And Dwayne was on the chat when I was playing him, and he's seen like at some point your guys have to block. Like you can double team and slide and do all that, but you can't when there's like all over the place and everywhere. And so sooner or later somebody's got to block somebody. Number 4 seed, Seattle Seahawks, 5-3 contender, pretender, a little bit of an up and down. He's been in and out with vacation, but contender, pretender, Dwayne.
He's a contender, but I'll put an asterisk next to it. He's just, and Mo said it himself, he's been so inconsistent this year. He's had 2 blowout losses. That's very Mo-like. He lost the Steelers 34-13. He lost the Ravens 33-7. But then he beats the Falcons. He beats the Browns. He beats the Saints. He loses close to the Bengals. So it's just been hit and miss. He hasn't played his normal dominant defensive side of the ball. He hasn't played normally dominant on the offensive side of the ball. So we're really riding on merit here with the Seahawks because they're not a great team, as in they're 76 overall. Ain't got a ton of pieces, and he really stuck to his guns on not trading this year. So I'm going to say he's a contender for one reason. That division he's in right now, everybody else is kind of stumbling. Dawson's the nearest one, the 49ers right now. I'm going to call him a contender, but he's got an asterisk next to it because this is not the Mo we're used to seeing.
Yeah, Mo is definitely not the Mo that we've been used to, and you know that team, he's just not playing to Mo style football, and I know he may mention in the chat that I think his defensive line, everybody's like 73 overall or something like that. Like there's nobody above that, so that's tough. But he is still generating some pass rush with those guys. So the thing that I think if he gets some guys in the off season, we're gonna probably see the old Mo sooner than later. But for this season, definitely think he's gonna be a contender. But I don't know how far he's gonna go in the playoffs with that team that he's got.
I think he's 100% a contender. He's going to get this figured out. And I just look at the teams behind him, right? And, I think that, look, things could dramatically change in the next few advances. But if he can figure out not to turn the ball over, which is what's bit him in the butt the last couple of advances, Wilson's been just tossing too many interceptions, and get back to his running game, his defense is going to be just fine with Wagner and these other players. I do think that he is a contender. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5th seed. They're sitting at 5-2. Mr. Cooley G, what do you think, Mr. Dwayne? Contender, pretender?
He's a contender. I got him as a lock in the playoffs. I don't see him winning this division. But like I said, he does have a really great, I've harped it all day about turnover ratio. He's only turned the ball over 9 times through 6 games. That's pretty damn good, and he's created 17 turnovers. So I love the ratio there. He's pretty solid. His offense is pretty solid. His defense is pretty solid. Defense, best rush defense in the league. He's had some really close games. I looked at a couple of his losses, the Rams, and I think the 49ers. But I think he's a contender. I think Cooley's always been a solid player. He's in a really tough division with the Panthers, Saints, and Falcons. But I think he comes out, and I think he gets a wild card spot in the NFC.
Cooley G, the man with the judgment on his brow. I don't know. Cooley G is always seems like he's just like on edge, and so I think that's going to actually kind of hurt him down the stretch. I don't know. So I'm calling him a pretender, Cooley G. I hate doing that to a fellow Cowboy fan, but. I think you're a pretender right now. You definitely have been putting up some good stats, but I think in the end it may kind of come down to those last minute games that in the last minute, are you going to be able to pull those out? And I think that's going to hurt him in the end. So I'm going to say pretender.
Hey, 5-2. I've seen him make some great plays. I do think that he's going to be a contender for me. I like this team. I think he will battle the Falcons, so he's going to push the Falcons to continue to win. It'd be fun to see which of these two teams comes out on top, but I think he's definitely a contender for me. Washington Redskins 5-2-1, the number 6 seed contender, pretender, Mr. D. Wayne. And just so that you guys know, I will be muted for the stream. You two will still hear me, but just ignore me. I got to answer this phone call. All right, but 5-2-1 Redskins. D. Wayne, contender, pretender.
He's a contender to me. I think you've kind of got your lock right there on guys. They're contenders. I hate to say it. He hasn't did nothing real crazy. He's pretty much a 1-to-1 turnover ratio. He doesn't really stick out anywhere on the offensive side of the ball. But if you look at some of his wins this year, I mean, he's beat a tough Cowboys team. He's beat a 49ers team. He did lose the Patriots. One of his 2 losses, the Patriots, the Bears. He beat the Bears, had a tie with the Eagles. I think he's a contender. I actually think he's going to push Lil Koch for this one. I think Denbrew, since he's been here, he's been really solid. And I think he's pushing a Redskins team that's not necessarily a real great built team, a team that needs some help. And he is starting Haskins at quarterback as a rookie. And he doesn't have a whole ton of weapons on that team. But I do think he's in a position where he could push this Eagles team for that NFC East title. But he can't sleep on who's behind him with the Giants and Cowboys. Both those teams can get hot at any time. But right now, I'm going to call him contender. I think he's going to push the Eagles right now for that division.
Yeah, the Redskins for me are a contender. He's just, even though he's starting a rookie quarterback, he's been very efficient with him. In fact, I think the game that he played me, he only had like maybe 3 or 4 incompletions. He seemed to be on target, and he understands his team fully. I know he's got 5-2-1, and he's kind of in the same boat as Cooley G with his record right now, and kind of positioned in the division. But I just think that from what I saw from him compared to Tampa, I think he's a lot more in tune with what his team can do, and I've seen him firsthand, and so I'm gonna call him a contender, definitely. And I'm not sure if he can overtake the Eagles, but they did play to the tie there in the first week, but definitely a contender there for the Washington Redskins.
Yep, they're my last contender, 5-2-1. I think that they play really smart football. They play hard-nosed football. They've got a pretty good defense. Look, it's not a great team. They're definitely missing some pieces, but he's got just enough pieces, I think, to continue to be a contender. And I do think that the teams below him are still trying to figure some things out. I would not be surprised to see, we'll get there, right, like some of these other teams push them. But if I had to make the call right here, right now at 5-2-1, I do think that the one, like over here with the New England Patriots, Bengals, that kind of thing, I think that one has an opportunity to come back and haunt them. But as of right now, they're my contender. Let's go to the San Francisco 49ers, which is our buddy Dawson, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Dawson's got the 49ers. So contender, pretender, Mr. D. Wayne.
At this point, I think Dawson's a pretender, and I think he would actually claim that himself. He just had a hard time running the ball. He's turned the ball over twice as many times as he's created turnovers, and that's just a bugaboo right there you can't have to be a contender. You can't turn the ball over that much, especially if you're not an explosive offense. I hate to, I always look at somebody like a Cincy or even a D-Money, somebody like that can kind of compete when they turn the ball over, because they can just turn around and score, and he's so fast. Dawson is more of, he plays a lot of me. He wants to grind it out, but you just can't turn over the ball that much, and when you can't score pace with the other side, you can't afford to turn the ball over much. So, I regretfully have to say that he's a contender at this point.
Yeah, Dawson and the 49ers, I think he's on the right track. He's definitely shown some potential with that team, and he's one of the better mastermind owners that we've seen in the OMFL, and I think here in the next season or two he's going to be contending all the way with Mo there in the NFC West. But this season he's a pretender. But I think he's going to play some spoilers down the road, and
right.
So. But yeah, definitely he's going to be a pretender.
Yep, I think he is a pretender. I think he's got potential. I think he's got a young team. He's got a great defense. Dawson will get it figured out. I think it's just going to take him a little bit longer. I think he'll be pushing, though. I think he'll be one of these teams that pushes for one of these bottom playoff spots. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he makes it all the way. We are pushing an hour and a half, and we haven't even got the mailbag. So let's see if we can't wrap this up. Green Bay Packers 4-4, the number 8 seed, contender pretender. Dwayne.
I love seeing the Packers, the fight they've showed this season. I'm going to go with the contenders right off the bat because he can't run the ball. I think he's one of the bottom 5 in the league running the ball, and he's probably one of the bottom 5 at stopping the run. That's just recipe for disaster, and he's the same boat as Dawson is on turnovers. It's pretty much a 2-to-1 ratio the wrong way. He's turned the ball away too much, and we know how Priest likes to air it out. He is the gunslinger of the OMFL, and it just has its cons to it. I'm going to say contender, but I do like that he is pushing the Bears in that division and just not letting Smash run away with it.
Yeah, I'm going to call Priest contender. I think with what he's showed so far, I think he's actually going to snag probably the last wild card spot. I think so far this Madden has kind of been, if you can really put up a lot of points, sometimes it doesn't matter what your defense is doing as long as you hold the opposing offense out in the red zone and make them score field goals. And if you can score touchdowns and force them to kick field goals, eventually you're going to win that game and stuff. And it seems like he's really kind of curbed the interception thing. I think the last game he had 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, which was a big milestone for him. And Aaron Rodgers is a beast at quarterback, and he has some really great X factors. So I'm looking for Priest to pick up that last playoff spot in the NFC.
Yeah, they're going to be a pretender for me. I will say, though, he showed me something at 4-4. He showed me some fight. He showed me that he's into it. He's playing much better, but still throws too many interceptions for me. So until he figures that out, he's going to be a pretender. And I just also think that the NFC just has a lot of other better teams that he's got to get better than if he's going to be a contender. Let's move to our Dallas Cowboys. A lot like with the Colts. Maniac, you don't get to say so because I don't want to hear it. But Mr. Dwayne, what do you think about our Dallas Cowboys?
Maniac has the talent there. He has the talent there to be a contender. He's dug himself a hole. I think he would even say that this cycle. He's dug himself a hole that if anybody can do it, he's got the team to do it, and he's got the user skills to do it. I have to say, I'm just going to say a contender at this point just for the fact that I don't know if the Redskins and the Eagles are going to let off the gas enough to let him try to catch up. But if he can win some of those head-to-head matchups, I do think he has a shot to take out one of those teams and still a playoff spot. I am going to label him a slight contender, but like I said, he kind of falls under the same category as a Titans or Bengals over there that I thought could slip in. I'm gonna say a slight contender, but he's not. He don't fall in the same contender status as some of these other contenders did.
Yeah, I think he's a pretender, but I'm putting you, Maniac, with the Bengals and Titans. It would not surprise me at all if you figure this thing out and go on a 8-game winning streak or something crazy here, right? Like, your team is very good. Your user skills very good. You're busy right now. You're running a second league right now. Sliders have not helped you, but now we're settled and we're good and we're like moving forward. I think you're going to figure out how to play with your team and you'll be just fine. But you've dug yourself a massive hole here with some pretty good teams in front of you. Would not surprise me at all if you go on a run and some other teams come back to the pack a little bit and you get in there. But I got to make the call for what we see right now, and that would be pretender. Let's move to our last team, number 10, the New York Giants at 3-4, contender or pretender, Mr. Dwayne?
I just have to go with the contender. I mean, a pretender at this point. I hate to throw Pepper out there like that. He just hadn't did nothing real crazy. He's ran the ball well, but other than that, he's been real pedestrian all around the stat-wise. I think he's averaging 23 points a game, giving up 23 points a game. He's 21st in total yards, 20th in total yards given up. He's another one that when he's on his game, he's one of the hardest to play. He has turned the ball over more times than he's gotten return. I'm going to say a pretender. He's got he's got a real tough team out of the box. The Giants were not very good out of the box. Got a lot of money tied up older players. I think later in the cycle he will be better. But at this point he's a pretender. He's probably played as good as he could with this team he's got right now. He's got one of the best backs in the league, but he's a pretender in a very, very tough division.
Cole Pepper and the New York Giants, he's probably his worst enemy. His biggest obstacle is just himself. But he actually said in the chat that he was making the switch to old man Eli for full-time starter the rest of the way, and I think he won his last game with that mentality. So Barkley is almost impossible to stop. I've seen that firsthand in our first game. I did win that game, but Barkley just ran all over me, and I had no answer for him. And but he's just got an uphill battle, just kind of like I do myself. We're both the same record, and in fact, we're going to be matched up the next game coming out of my bye week and stuff. So it's going to be a tough game. But Pepper, at this point, pretender.
You know, this is a team that's loaded with talent. Is a very good player. Like, Pepper did not forget how to play. And I think that this game will fit him well. But I know he missed a couple of games, and that kind of threw him off. He was on our first game with commentary this week. Shout out to our friends who were able to come do that. I'm slipping my brain. Langley's his name, but I can't think of the name of his league. And Meter, they came and did some great commentary for our games. And it was the New York Giants game. I'm going to label him a pretender. I went contenders as everybody that was on this list, and pretenders as everybody on the bubble.
Pretty much.
I do think he's a really good team, though. He's got a lot of potential, and I think he will get some things figured out. He's just not quite there just yet. All right, let's move over to mailbag, and then we're going to put a bow on this show and see if we can't get us out of here. That's not going to... Let's see if this is it. I think this might be it. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, here we go. I don't even know if we have any questions. I didn't even get a chance to look this morning.
One. Dawson said he asked one.
All right, so let's hop in here. Let's see. Wait, there's 7 pages now, so it's, that was from you. Oh, you know what? I'm going to let you ask your question for Maniac since he wasn't on the show last week. Do you remember it? I can read it if not.
Read it because I don't have it pulled up at the moment.
So Dwayne said, for Maniac, what positions on your team, offense, defense, do you think are most vital to your success?
Well, I can't say there's a whole lot of success going on yet, but there is potential there with the roster set that I have. Obviously, the Cowboys are pretty stacked in a lot of areas. A lot of young guys. I truly think though that the success starts, and I think this is the basis of any sport. Your front line. I mean, the offensive line I have right now, I have really 3 great starters. I've got 2 young guys that are up and coming. My left guard, and I can't even think of his name right now. I'm a Cowboys fan, but it's early in the morning and I'm sleepy. I'm getting tired as the more I talk. But
Connor Williams.
And then yes, Connor Williams. He's a little green right now still, and there has been he hasn't got enough good blocks. I guess his run blocking is kind of suspect right now. He's a little bit small, so he needs to be built up a little bit. And I think it's part of the reason why I've struggled running the ball, because he's kind of let me down on a few runs. But the front 7, I truly feel like that on offense, your tight ends, your blocking tight ends, and your line makes a big difference. And you look at some of the guys that are having some of the better rushing attacks and stuff. They may not have top tier guys in the league, but if you look at a lot of their stats, a lot of their rushing run blocking, tight end run blocking, a lot of those guys are high in that, and you kind of see it paying off for them. You know, they are playing to their strength. You know, their strength is in that particular rating, and so they're playing to that strength. And on defense, the same way. Right now, I've kind of struggled stopping the run on defense, and my defensive line is not very good at stopping the run. So, and it shows in games. So, those things I think are the top things that really build to success. For as my team that I have, the linebackers, they're studs. And I just picked one up from Cincy in a trade. I got Jefferson, which he's the University of Texas guy, but he's like 69 overall, but he has all the attributes like 86 or 87 speed, 89 acceleration. He's really good against playing the run. He is a run-stopping linebacker, a big physical linebacker. So those type of players really fit my style, and I think in the long run, it's going to help me turn around my team and be a playoff contender.
You know, I remember when we used to do 45-minute shows, and we've been going at it for almost 2 hours with some technical difficulties. Let's get over to Dawson's question. He says, sacks. Might have already brought this up, but do y'all think that sacks totals will level out once everybody starts understanding how to play offense this cycle, playbook, and timing? And then he says something that has to be an Arkansas saying that I've never heard in my entire life. Also, he says, Aaron Donald didn't have a sack versus me in week 6. Here it is. I just wanted to throw some pocket sand in my division rival's face.
Oh my God.
What the hell is pocket sand? You hick-billy Arkansas dude. What is pocket sand, Wayne?
I will say this is actually Texas related because it's from King of the Hill and Dale Dibble.
Okay, that makes much more sense. I can handle a King of the Hill reference, and I thought it was like an Arkansas thing. He says yours truly, 2-time toilet bowl champion Dawson. I missed Dawson being on the show. So I will throw in my input, and then I'll let you guys go at it. I think they will level out. I think sack numbers, interception numbers, yards per carry average will always be a little bit higher here than in the NFL. And I do think that because of the changes, they will be higher than Madden 18 and 19. 18 and 19 just didn't play very well. It just wasn't a good game, in my opinion. And so the numbers were kind of low, which almost mirrored the NFL. Here, I think those couple of stats will always be a little bit higher because we don't play 15-minute quarters, right? We're not NFL quarterbacks, and so people make bad decisions. And so I know everybody's seen the poll that came out, and Penguins and I had a long conversation about his frustrations with the game, and the issue is trying to match the NFL. It's just not always going to happen because we're not all NFL coaches and players, and we all have different skill levels, and we make different decisions. And what I'm doing with Breeze is not what Breeze is going to do at Breeze, right? And throwing power is not a thing in the NFL. Breeze is a very accurate, great quarterback because they throw a lot of those intermediate routes, those 10 to 20 yard routes. If you do that here, you're against FPR, and you got to have a big arm. And so it just doesn't all match up perfectly. It's, can things be fair and even? And does the game feel right? Yes, sacks are tough. Yes, Sax. What's up, Alpha? Thanks for tuning in. Alpha, you guys need to click his name and go follow him. He puts out some really great shows and awesome content. I see you, Alpha. I appreciate you always supporting our stuff. But back to the sack numbers, I think that as teams build their offensive lines, and we don't have 52 overall players starting, as guys understand the timing, as they understand the mechanisms available to them, slide blocking, double team, keeping in a running back, you're going to have to learn how to do those things, guys. You're going to have to learn how to check down. Maniac and I had a great conversation this week that guys feel like they're breaking FBR by checking down. Look, the running back and tight end, scratch that, the running back fullback issues were like a Madden 16-17 issue. Those have gone away. The running backs are not always open. The fullbacks are not always open. It's not an unstoppable play. Tight ends. that's a 18-19 issue where they were always open. They're not always open anymore. The way we have moved our sliders around, it fits. It works. You can go to the tight end, you can go to the fullback, you can go to the running back, and you need to do that as a check down or as a quick route when you're getting blitzed, and you got to learn how to quickly adjust those things. And I don't think that a lot of teams have learned how to adjust to the game just yet. And as we get through season 1, we will be able to mess with that and learn the game better and get those sack numbers, I think, to a more even amount. Season 1 is always when our sack number record breaks. Right. Usually it's in season 1. After that, it settles in. So I'll throw it over to you guys to toss in your stats.
Go ahead, Maniac.
All right. Well, yeah, I think the sack, thing is, to me, I already see, except for games that I'm watching, and I'll just. Let me kind of start over. I've been watching some of the games, trying to, sometimes in my busy schedule, at least I can pull up my phone, and when I see a game pop up, and I'll try to watch some. And I see a lot of guys, they still got this Madden 19 mentality where they're trying to hit these deep crossers or deep posts or deep streaks. Sometimes even the deep comeback routes and stuff. It just you can't be consistent. Throwing that
They're
play.
there, but not every time like Madden 19.
Yeah, and you can't just. I mean, that can't be your base offense, because I mean, you live by the big play. You're gonna die by the big play. That's why I tell the guys in the deuce too, when some of those things come up. You live by the big play, you die by the big play, or if you live by the blitz, eventually you're gonna die by the blitz because people are gonna catch on, and. But I think the biggest thing with the pass rush is the guys. We talked about guys not checking down, having all those deep routes, and not checking the line. As soon as you get the ball, you're all the way down. You just got to answer the line. Like check down. I got an uncheck down button, and and some of the guys that are doing that, I've watched the games, and they're the ones that are only given up 2, maybe 3 sacks a game, sometimes even less. I mean, we're talking about the last game that I had with the Eagles. I did not have a sack one in that game, and I did blitz some because I couldn't get any pressure. It seemed like because D-Law was locked up. He was keeping his back in. He was also throwing checkdowns. So again, I think a lot of it, once guys really start to figure it out, we may be, and I'm going to predict this, we may be talking about in the next 2 seasons lowering the pass block because we're not getting sacks anymore because guys have adjusted to the point to where, well, now I'm not getting any rush because guys are throwing the check down or the line now. Guys have increased their overalls, and now the line's blocking everybody like really good now, and I can't get pass rush. I predict it, and we had the same issue last Madden. When Madden came out, I'm getting sacked 30 times.
If Pepper could reach through this screen right now and grab my neck, he would. When you talk about the pass rush from Madden 19.
Yeah. I mean, it was the pitchfork and torch thing that was going on last Madden because I can't get pass rush. After season 1, 2. I think when we made all the adjustments and we figured out, I think at that point sliders were backwards for pass block, and then all of a sudden I can't get any pass rush anymore, and it was the theme all the way to the end of Madden 19. Now we got Madden 20 first season. Now pass rush is just running rampant, right now it seems like. But guys, still, I see a few that are adjusting, but there's a few that have not. And those guys that have not, you got to start watching video of guys that are having success and seeing what they're doing. Hey, they're making those checkdowns. I'm telling you, checkdowns are very important.
Yeah, and I want Dwayne to go, but I will just say, my game against the Bears. He has so many playmakers. It was like, I got to get the ball out quick. I got to start adjusting my routes that I'm running. And then sometimes great players make great plays. And so that's what happened. The Bears just made more plays than I did. I have Cam Jordan, and he's probably the only good defensive lineman that I have. And he doesn't get crazy stack numbers. I think he's got like 7 or 8 halfway through the season. So I do think you can adjust to it. And you also, I think it gives teams like the Bears this like unique feel that only they have, which is so important, which is
right.
Yeah, I'm not saying we'll never take them away. I'm just not ready to take away X Factor just yet because of that reason. All right, Dwayne, what do you think about sliders?
I personally like them. Being somebody who I don't have many sacks myself, and I've given up quite a few, I still prefer the sliders the way they are. I think and I say giving up a few as in I'm just willing to take a sack over throwing an interception. But I do think something lost here is I think the throw power is playing a big factor in this. I think for one, guys are a lot better at user in the secondary now. And, last Madden, it seemed like every quarterback had 93, 94 throw power or up. And you could just heave it down the field and hope for the best. Well, now I even look at like Andrew Luck has 89 throw power. You're not just going to heave the ball with Maniac or Cly or controlling safety because it's going the other way. And I think a lot of guys are waiting for those routes to get open and taking sacks. Just because I think the user skill is just so high in the OMFL when it comes to defensive usering. But yeah, if you're not taking advantage of keeping a running back in, or if somebody's blitzing you a lot, putting that running back out in the flats and throwing to him, you're missing out. If you're not double teaming, I've double teamed with success, with not success. Even on run plays, I've tried it. It's hit and miss, but you got to do something. You can't just sit back there, keep doing the same thing, get with the same results, and get upset about it. You got to do something to do. The game has given us ways to try to fight it. And I'm with you on the X Factors. I will never. I'm a huge fan. I will never be a fan of banning it. I love the X Factor. I just think somebody like Khalil Mack. You talk about the Bears, and it seemed like every time you drop back, he was in your face the other day. And the one time you stepped up right into a defensive tackle. And I think that's the kind of things that an X Factor guy does. He forces you to. Now it was a little crazy, but. Mac was just back there every play, and then, like I said, one time you tried to compensate for him, you stepped up, and a secondary player makes a play. That's what an X Factor does in real life. A superstar player does that. I love the X Factors, and I don't have really any. I think I have one X Factor, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2. I can't recall, but I love the X Factor. I just put that out there. I love it. I think it's a game changer. I think in free agency, when these X Factors, if they hit the free agent market, will break the market. And I think that's realistic. Khalil Mack hits the market in real life. He gets the biggest contract in history like he did with the Bears. So I love it. I like the sliders the way they are. I think that I've seen games where guys, it's not like 1 or 2 teams are getting, except for Aaron Donald, is getting every sack. But it's been pretty if you take care of your stuff and game plan, I think you can negate a lot of the X Factor stuff. Now, like Dawson's pocket sand reference, he did stop Donald. Donald came into that game with like 20 sacks or like that. Dawson made a point. He told me, I'm going to get him here. I'm going to leave my running here. He's on the side. I'm going to move him over there and put him as a max protect, but put him as a blocker. I roll out. He said, I'm just going to stay away from him, and Dawson did. Dawson came away and held on to no sacks, and I don't know if anybody else can say that this season. So there's ways to do it. It's just whether you're willing to put the time and effort to watch stuff and to try new things on the playing field.
Yep, I agree with you, and I think it is something that you can adjust to and that you can change. And I'm not saying that we won't tighten them up a little bit, but I'm nervous about tightening them up until we get a full season. Because I just don't want Pepper to have his pitchforks and come after me. All right, Dwayne, put a bow on the show. I got another call from my wife. She won't leave me alone, and so I got to take this. You guys will hear me. The podcast will not. Put a bow on the show.
I think it's been a great show. It's been a real nice long show, but I think it's been overdue with all 3 of us. We all like to talk. I think maybe I can back that up. So I think it's been a really great show. I think just so far season, I can speak for myself, just look at feedback forms. I think the feedback forms have been relatively not real good this year. I don't know if everybody's just being nice or if everybody's really playing pretty clean-cut football, but we haven't had a ton. I know we haven't had very many, if any, like 2s and 3s this season. I can't speak right offhand because I don't have it right in front of me, but I thought FPR has been a lot better. I think the disparity's been a great thing for our league this year.
FPR has been
and
good.
The content's been really high. I just think it's been a really great start. And you guys, the first season, like Nate said earlier, it's always test cycle. If y'all remember, I had Shear last Madden 19 had 29 sacks the very first season while we were adjusting sliders, and then he evened out. He had 15 to 20 sacks, and he was a pass rush specialist the rest of the way. And that's just the first season. I hate to say it's an anomaly, but you're just going to have some wacky stuff when you're adjusting sliders, getting used to a new game, and I think it only goes up from season 1. I think it only gets better. And so far, I think we've had a great season 1, so I think that speaks volumes to the game so far this year. If you can get past some of the glitches, and the glitches are not our fault, especially not Nate's fault, not Maniac's fault, it's EA. The kick glitch, it sucks. I haven't had to have it yet. I know guys have lost because of it, and it sucks. It does suck. There's just nothing you can do about it. But I have ran into my fair share of the halftime blitz, and I'll tell you what, yesterday when I did it, I sure as heck didn't call any time I was run out of bounds with 30 seconds left in the half. So it changed my game plan up a little bit. I was not going to have another DC. But other than the glitches that are EA's problem, not ours, I think it's been a great first season so far.
Let's read it for the bone of the show.
Yeah, it's been a great show. I know I've missed like the last 8. I don't know. It seems like it's been forever since I've been on, but really excited about everything that's going on in the OMFL. Guys, like with the FPR, like I say, I know guys kind of they're getting in the chat and they complain about some of the pass rush and stuff, but I'm also glad to see that there's not a lot of bad feedback. It seems like sometimes there's always a chat explosion goes, well, this guy is doing this to me or whatever, and it kind of trickles from there, and some guys have problems with playing certain guys, and you can tell that it gets underneath their skin when they have to play them, like when Pepper has to play me, but no. I think overall, it's been a good first season. Yeah, we've had the glitches, the kick glitch, the halftime glitch, like Dwayne has faced a few times, and I'm thankful I haven't faced any of those yet. But hopefully EA will get those fixed sooner than later, and that'll be an afterthought, and we'll be able to just go on and enjoy the rest of this Madden. I think we're definitely heading in the right direction. Sliders do feel good. I know we've put in a lot of work on those, and I'm excited for the Deuce to see what holds for the Deuce for the rest of this Madden as well. Guys seem like they're having fun and enjoying that as well, and just overall, I'm still excited and looking forward to playing Madden for the rest of this.
Yeah, I think we're definitely in the right direction. FPR has been really good, and just overall things have went well. And I'm starting to get to a point where I'm not as anxious. I just was putting so much time and energy into the sliders and trying to get us going, and now the only energy I got to figure out is, like, with this new setup, how are we going to do drafts and commentate games, and I've got some ideas that we'll have to test over the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited. I'm ready to get through season 1. It's been tough for me, but overall it's been fun, and even win or lose, I still enjoy the games, and I just want to figure out how to play with my team. As always, go to our website, grownfolksoc.com. If you want to check us out, hit the Join Us button, and you can send in an application there. Let me see if I can get this to pull up real quick. Yep, you can see our application page. It has all the different leagues, the rules, the settings. That probably needs to be updated a little bit, and you can throw in your application. We will then email you, or whoever's running that league will email you and let you know the link to our Discord chat. And our website has tons of content, everything from PUBG to golf, all the new podcasts. And let me just click this and just show you all the Madden content that's out, which has been amazing. I'm just blown away by all the stuff that's coming out there. My Saints and Sinners podcast, I hope that people enjoy that. I'm enjoying doing them. I need to do one this weekend from my last couple of games, but they've been fun. But the NBC is throwing out tons of content. The Deuce is throwing out tons of content. There's supposed to be a new OMFL Gazette and TFL Digest that's coming out. The Deuce in Review, that is the new podcast for the Deuce. Go check that out. One Pride Live is always a really great article from Trey George, who is the Lions over there, that puts out tons of good stuff. The TFL is putting out tons of content. And then, of course, the La Salle Caliente, the hot seat from the Puerto Rican nipple. This stuff is great, man. You need to go watch some of these podcasts because they're really, really good. And, I'm just blown away by all of the content that's out there. This stuff is just coming out in droves, and there's more than you could even try to keep up with. So go check out our website, grownfolksoc.com. And then you can also check out our Twitter page here, so if you can get that to come up. Grown Folks OC. Give us a follow here on YouTube, on Twitch, here on Twitter. I think what I'm going to start doing is podcasts will be for YouTube, and then games will be for Twitch. I get more views on YouTube, so more eyeballs are like watching stuff, and I think that's because of the app. But Twitch is more stable, and so even today I've seen the stream come in and out a little bit. It's just more stable over on Twitch, and so I think since games are so important, and I don't ever want to lose those, I don't know. I'm talking out of my head. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know that we're going to keep messing with it until we can figure it out. Let me see if I can get our Twitter page. Here we go. Grown Folks OC on Twitter. Tons of content on there, so go give us a follow and a like, and you'll see all the great stuff that's coming out. Literally, I'm having 20 to 30 notifications of content that we're being tagged on that we're having to retweet every single day. So this is the most content that we've ever had. And then last, let me give a shout out to all of our partners. Go to our partners page here, and you can see all of our partners. We couldn't do anything that we do without Daddy Leagues. You've seen our great Daddy Leagues webpage. Pappy is in our Discord. He's a quiet dude. Don't hear a lot from him, but a great guy, and he's been nothing but a great asset to us. So daddyleagues.com. I will continue to push Matt's website, leaguecrawler.com. If you don't have a profile on Leaguecrawler, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you're an owner here, I'm begging you, go create a profile, go find OMFL page, give us a ranking, a rating, and leave a comment. All of that stuff helps, and just support Matt in the work that he's doing, because it's really, really great stuff. And then our buddies, you've seen Alpha on the show a while ago, but Soden Bowl, those are our good friends over on the Xbox side. We send all of our Xbox friends that look at us for a league, we send them over there because they're doing some really great stuff. Some of the greatest content that you're going to see, and just really, really good stuff. And then a couple of our other buddies. Mr. Shopmaster, he's here in our Discord channel. He's been just a great addition. He's putting out great content. Go support him. He's very involved in the 2K community and the Madden community. And we want to make sure that we get him some views and comments and likes and all that fun stuff that helps get more eyeballs on the content that he's creating. And then our friends over at OCW and Austin DTA and E-Kings. Austin DTA and OCW, those are both E-Feds for the WWE. Actually, Austin just puts out WWE content from 2K, and then OCW is actually a federation that you can go play games. We used to have one here. I'm still hoping that it comes back for the new game. We'll have to see. But look, just lots of really great stuff, and we love our partners, and we appreciate everything that they do for us and as we go. And you can see my ugly mug live right there on OMFL, our grownfolks.tv, and then all of our websites and just great content. So I'm blown away by the content. I'm blown away by everything that we got, and a good 2-hour show for you to chew on with the whole crew back together again. The days of 45-day shows are long overdue. First thing my wife said when she called the second time. I was like, "Are you still doing that show?" I was like, "Yes, ma'am, but I'm trying to wrap it up. I promise." I couldn't get Dwayne to shut up. I'm gonna blame him.
No, that's right.
Why do I keep hitting my remote here? Sorry, my bad. And tell the wife, Dwayne, I'm still salty as hell that she liked a tweet about beating my team. I don't like that. And I appreciate that I treat her husband better. I'm going to need to be treated better on Twitter. All right, so you send that message with love for me. Guys, thank you so much. If you're looking for some great content, I work really, really hard to give you the greatest content. I have stepped it up. I think that we are putting out high quality content now. We're doing it in a very new, neat way. And go check out our PUBG stuff. I think that's lots of fun. Our conversations are fun. The game's awesome. Go watch some of our streams that we're putting out and just give us a like and a comment and just watch for a couple of minutes. Anything helps. There's some like this new way of doing things means that I literally have to be in front of my TV tethered with a capture card to my PlayStation, but it allows me to do this high quality stuff that we're doing, and it also has a feature that I can connect to it with my phone. So we're going to give some test runs of doing this on my phone because the draft, hold on one second. Sorry, a text came in that I had to answer. The draft, the wife is not going to give me 4 hours sitting in front of the TV tethered to it. So we're going to have to get a little creative with our draft shows and other stuff. And I'm hoping that maybe even this Sunday or now soon, I'll be able to do a live commentary game on Sundays. Sundays are going to start opening up some possibilities for me in the afternoon. And so hopefully I'll do some live commentary on Sunday afternoons of any games that are being played. So I'm super excited about it. I think that this is going to give us some great possibilities to continue to put out great content. The popping is gone. We figured out how to get our web pages on here, and it's not perfect, but we're getting there, and I appreciate both of you for being up early and being with me. And now it's like I can't go back to sleep. It's 10:30 in the freaking morning now. But I'm probably going to lay in my nice little recliner here and take a nap. So, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank all of you for interacting with us today. Appreciate you. Much love. God bless you this week. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Later.